Hello Floss Tube, this is Stitchy Dutchy. Last time I promised that I would share some tips and tricks I found while working on a stitch in time, which is a max color and full of confetti. And I learned quite a few new tricks, and I love to share them. First of all, I'd like to talk about how I divided this pattern into a sort of 20 minis. It is one of the Amy Stewart's bookshelves, and lots of those patterns have the 4 shelves, which represent the 4 seasons. So the top shelf is the spring shelf, and I started at the top left corner, and I will stitch it panel by panel. So we have 4 shelves, and on each shelf is about 5 panels, or 5 minis if you want. You could also divide the second shelf into 4, because it's really 4 scenes, and then a separate one over shelf 2 and 3 for the hoop with the logo Stitch in Time. I'll see how I work with that when I get there. First I'm going to stitch the top row, and I've chosen to divide it in 5 parts, as I said, but not the pattern is nearly 1,000 stitches, so you could say each panel is 200 stitches, but that would leave me right in the middle of that green book, and I wanted to stitch that completely and also do the ort jar that's beneath it. So that's what I did, and I started the pattern. I started the stitch rather, and this is where I am right now. I'll turn on some light so you can see a little better. It is the 6th row I'm working on, and this shelf is 2 more rows high, but as I came up at the part that shows the ort jar, I really wanted to see if I can get the pattern on my scroll frame and still be able to stitch on it, because this is just doable. If it were 1 square lower, it would be very difficult to stitch, but this is doable. And I'm going to to finish the jar, because I just love that. I think it's such a cute detail in the pattern. So I'm gonna stitch that, and then I'm gonna finish the next 2 rows and move over to the next panel. What are my tricks? Well, I started doing the Royal Rose method. You can find all you want to learn about that on a Royal Stitcher. She's a floss tuber, and she sort of invented this way of stitching. It's where you stitch 2 blocks high and really in towers or small columns, and you do those rows from, I do those from left to right. So I worked my way down the first row, and I parked below. I also parked a little bit to the right, which is being a rebel. And the second row, okay, so I did all the confetti, and then I got stuck with so many parked threads, because it's supersized and max color. And I really got lost in the quantity of the threads. So I wanted to trim that down a bit. So I started to do a little bit of cross country, and for that I divided the mini I'm working on into sections. So I did this section, and I do CC, so color complete or cross country, whatever you like to use for that abbreviation. And then this one with the black and the flowers and the key, and the door is one section. This one is another one, and the purple book, and this one. So that gives you the opportunity to stitch a little more with your thread than if you would just be stitching one tower, because you go down with your parking, and then you may only need a few stitches, and you have to end the thread, and you end up with, like on this 310, several leftovers you have to get back on your floss card or Peco or whatever you're using. So that's a lot of extra handling, and that of course takes time. So that's the reason why I came up with doing this in different sections. And I thought, well, let's get a little techie. I don't know if you have ever heard of the lean method. That's something they use in production factories and that kind of things. And it's a way of looking at adding value and trying to reduce waste. And there are several ways of looking at what is waste. So you've got a little mnemonic on that. That's let Tim Woods help you. And the name Tim Woods represents all the kinds of waste you can have. So the T is transport, the I is inventory, and the M is motion. I'm not going to go into all of them, but motion is one of the things that I took care of, because I've got these, I just showed a little bit of them, the floss cards. They're in numerical order, and I've got 15 colors on one. Well, it's a partial floss card, because I split them in half, because I like to have my threads go in the same direction. So I was doing a lot of browsing through this to get my remaining floss on the floss cards and to find a new color, because when you're working away your parked threads, you're not going in numerical order. You follow the pattern. So I kept flipping and browsing through these, and I spent so much time doing that. So I came up with even another solution for that, and that's my floss card bingo. So what I do now, that is, if I'm in a very heavy confetti area, and I know that this one is very heavy confetti because in the orange jar there's every color that you can find in nearly every color. So what I do is I take my pattern keeper, and I don't tap the symbol. No, I tap the floss card numbers. So this one starts with that one, and I can see, oh, that's got some colors in it. So 320, no, that's not on my stitching. 321, yep, bingo, that's on my to-do section of the stitching. So that saves me a lot of browsing through the floss cards. So I stitch in that order. If the number is not there, no, I don't have anything to stitch. So this one, only one stitch, but it lights up, so I need that one. And if I only do a few stitches and I don't need that color anymore, I can easily slip it back on the floss card because it's on top of the whole bunch. So this really saves up a lot of time. I also found out, not really a new way, but a way of starting and starting the floss. And I'd like to show you that next time, because it's still hard for me to get my camera in the right position and be able to stitch, because I have to use a magnifier. What I can do is show you my setup. So that's my magnifier. I will turn the lines off so that is not so bright anymore. What I do, I have my very, very large piece of fabric on a scroll frame, and that's an Omanic quantum frame, which I've got attached on a vise, a multi-angle vise. And of course, because the frame is so big, it needs a little more support. And that's just a bit of an angle. Now, well, I guess you all know the Lowry stand with a daisy dish and an Oort container. And that's just a wet sponge, because I'm using DMC and that needs a little moistness. So I use that. Of course, I've got needle minders. I did show you my floss management. And what I do with my tablet, the slip of it, the cover of it, is also magnetic. Well, it needs a needle minder to place my scissors. And I use the crochet hook for getting the remaining threads back on my floss card. So that's a little easier than doing it with my, just by hand. And so that's just about the tips and tricks I've recently discovered and I wanted to share with you. So I hope you can have some benefit of it, and I will try to find a way and show you how I'm stitching for my future floss tube videos. So bye for now, happy stitching!